Hi, I'm Eric Berry from the Starfleet Escape podcast, and you're listening to another great Four-Eyed Radio product. For more shows, check out foureyedradio.com.
This Four-Eyed Radio production is brought to you by America Joy Print Shop. All your printing needs taken care of in one convenient place. Visit americajoy.com for business cards, flyers, banners, decals, car wraps, and more. Visit americajoy.com.
Hey everybody, this is Jeff. I'm so glad the Super Bowl is over because now we can just focus on the Oscars.
Hey, and this is Steve, and I am glad it's coming up on Valentine's Day. Romance.
Welcome to the 12A podcast, where you're going to learn about movies, entertainment, and a lot of other cool stuff. And now, here are two guys who like to filibuster their own show, Jeff and Steve.
Whoa, yeah!
Right.
So...
Podcast.
I feel like I should be a rock and roll star.
Oh yeah, doesn't every artist in some way or another want to be a rock star?
Yeah, exactly. So everybody listening tonight, we have no sound guy.
Yeah, Sam is MIA, and we are doing something drastically different for us, anyways. We're doing a Google Hangout.
Yeah, our first time. It's like amateur hour around here, so hopefully it sounds good in the end.
Yeah. But the funny thing for me is that Steve and I are still doing this. We're not in the same room. We're actually doing this over the internet. But we still live a block from each other, so we still could probably literally be sharing the Wi-Fi to do this Google Hangout. I mean, if you stop to think about it.
Yeah, we're not too far away from each other, so we just didn't want to be in the same room.
Yeah, I mean, really, if something goes really bad in this podcast, I could probably stick my head out the window and say, "Hey, Steve!
Reset your computer!
You need to change something."
Yeah. Well, that's right. I hope this works out, because this is kind of a new way to do a podcast. I know that there's the Star Trek podcast that's on the Four-Eyed Radio Network. They do the same type of thing.
Right.
So I think this would be a cool way to maybe invite guests later on or something like that. Once we perfect it, of course.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love about the way we're doing this is, and part of the reason we're doing this is because we were just playing around with this technology yesterday for a film we want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Jeff wanted to do a romantic, dark comedy. Yeah. And we want to do it as if you're viewing the entire person's relationship online, kind of a viewerism.
Right. Yeah. We wanted to do. I don't know how much we want to give away, but we wanted to show like this entire relationship that takes place online, and we wanted to tell it through the medium that they would be doing it through. So like we wanted to have like a Google Hangout, like Steve and I are doing right now. And it's just the course of a relationship, and you watch them sort of a Before Sunset vibe if you've seen that movie.
Okay.
Have you seen that movie?
I have not.
Okay, it's right up your alley. That would be a really good Second Base for $1.
Oh, really? So one of the Second Base for $1 movies I have right now reminded me of when you and I took a screenwriting class together at Scottsdale Community College.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, the Jaguar story, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, it's the Jaguar story. Yes, crashing a Jag on the 101. Oh, but no, the romance in it was like this very raw, kind of real romance, and it's not necessarily happy-go-lucky. Like when we get to Second Base, then you'll see.
Okay, all right. So, looking forward to that. Yeah. You got our Netflix review. I am really excited because I have a speed round for you, Steve, that I've worked hard on, and you will hate it as much as you like it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I think I might have gone too easy on you at speed round then this week. So
it'll be fun.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, let's talk about a few things in the news first. I guess one would be obviously Phllip Seymour Hoffman passing. Have you been following that at all?
I have. I caught wind of that. on my phone, something popped up, some news thing. It was really sad, and like everything I've heard on the news recently has just been talking about, drug addiction and how bad it actually is. That maybe we don't know just how bad it is for actors and stuff.
Right. Yeah, and for me, I've been just I haven't been digging into that as much as because I know it's it's obviously a tragedy. I know a lot of difficult things come with fame, obviously, and we're constantly reminded that of Heath Ledger and all these other passings. But I just been thinking a lot about Phllip Seymour Hoffman and his work, and there's this great story that was on the it was on Huffington Post or whatever that newspaper is. Some guy was on. He was like just starting to become an actor, and he was like at that point where he just started to accept calling himself an actor, And so he bumped into Phllip Seymour Hoffman like in a casino in like a food court or something like that. Just like bumped into him, and he was like, "Oh, hey, I don't normally go up to celebrities, but I wanted to tell you, you're my favorite actor." And the guy said he gave him kind of a weird look and almost a weird smirk, and he goes, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Are you an actor?" He's like, Yeah, I'm an actor." He's like, "Oh, okay." Because only actors tell me that. And then at that point, I guess he had a big smile on his face and walked off. And I was But anyway, what's great about Phllip Seymour Hoffman is, I mean, obviously he's an amazing actor, but the other thing I love is that he does these like little teeny tiny independent roles where he like knocks it out of the park, but then he does like these big, huge production roles, and he does like just as good with those like big, huge production roles.
Right. Yeah, and that was like he was a kind of an under the radar because of that. Like he was always really, really good. Like you said, no matter a small or a large role that was nominated for whatever.
Right.
But yeah, he wasn't like a blockbuster Tom Cruise type, which is good because he doesn't deserve much as Tom Cruise.
Yeah, and but yeah, if you think of like the first thing I saw him in was like Twister, when he's kind of like the party dude, and he did Boogie Nights that same time. It was the same kind of thing, and then he did. I remember he did Patch Adams, where he was kind of a dick. And it's kind of cool that he could play like the hero or the villain and be just as good, just as believable.
Yeah, and I completely forgot about Twister. Oh,
yeah,
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, he was great in Twister, and I remember really liking that character, when I was younger, and then sort of forgetting about him, and then seeing him in Patch Adams, and then just this guy's a jerk, whatever. And then he goes back and forth and in between, and
and part of the tragedy of it, just like with Heath Ledger, is I feel like there was so much more we could have gotten out of these people, like from an entertainment standpoint, and they had not peaked.
Right.
And so that's sad. Yeah.
The other thing I thought about is, Chris Rock has this statement where he says, why is it that, all the good rappers are dead? He's like, Tupac's dead, Biggie dead, Vanilla Ice still alive.
Yeah.
It was like we lost Heath Ledger. We
lost Heath Ledger.
Hoffman, but all these other guys.
Tom Cruise is still alive.
Tom Cruise is still making millions.
No.
So, that was a tough loss for the acting community.
No, it was. It's interesting to bring up something like because I remember, Paul Walker, when he passed away earlier. There is She's All That, an old romantic comedy from the 90s.
Oh, yeah, which is on Netflix.
Yes, and I actually tagged it for our Valentine's Day post.
Right.
Yeah, so but that's got Paul Walker in 1998 when he was really young. It was his second movie role.
Oh, I forgot he was in that. That's right.
Yeah, he was kind of the D-bag football guy.
Right.
So it's interesting how much I feel like I've gone through with these people, how young they were, and I don't realize the movies they were in back then.
Yeah, I love that when you sort of like find an actor that you really like when they're young in their career, and then you get to see him like become famous. Like I remember seeing Patrick Washburn like when he was like just doing like bit parts in TV shows and stuff, being like, oh man, I love him, and now he's the big name, big voice like in everything, and yeah. So speaking of the Valentine's Day post, we're working on another guide, like we did the Christmas guide and the Halloween guide and the Thanksgiving guide, whatever. We're doing a small Valentine's Day guide for all you guys stuff to stream on Netflix for Valentine's Day. And the fun thing for me putting this together is, we kind of had the romantic comedies, the sappy dramas, the classic film, everything you would come to expect. But then we also had a section for the Today Sucks, and I just I just want a movie that's gonna suck with me, Not that it's a bad movie, but it's just something to empathize with you.
Right.
That was fun looking for those movies. And Steve and I did our top 5, and I put one of those movies in my top 5, which was Lost in Translation. Have you seen that one?
I have. Yes, I would not have chosen that except for the suck part, like you're saying. Yeah.
But isn't it so it's so hypnotizing and sort of mesmerizing, and it's sort of really slow, but at the same time it's really engaging, and it's got really funny, quirky stuff, but then it's got other stuff that's just really sort of sedating.
It's really real. I think that's why it's kind of slow, because I could see myself in his position with that girl, and that being my night on the town. That I think is why it makes it slow, because it's very real to life.
Right.
It's not too over-exaggerating. There's no ridiculous party things. This is all stuff that happens every night somewhere in the world.
Yeah, and if you're single on Valentine's Day, it's not a good venting movie, but it's sort of a good sort of hypnotize you, sedate you sort of type of a movie if you're kind of in a down mood. Now I know you mentioned She's All That, which didn't that make your list? It did?
Yeah, that made my list. I tried to be very different, and that movie is the teen, just kind of typical movie. The guy has a bet, tries to get the nerdy girl to turn to a beautiful girl. She does. They'll fall in love.
Right.
Very typical.
Yeah, to me it's like the quintessential movie of its time. The romantic teen sort of nerdy makeovers were so big then. It's so quintessential the 90s, I thought.
Yeah. And there was a whole slew of movies like that in the 90s, in like that same 2 or 3 years. But I think this is the one that was the least vulgar and the most like the romantic comedy type. Yeah.
Right. So give me. We won't give away all the stuff on our list. Give me one other movie that you really like that was on your Valentine's Day list.
What Women Want. The Chinese version.
Not the Mel Gibson Helen Hunt version.
No. I totally ran across it by accident, and I watched it from beginning to end while Lucas was napping today.
Oh, wow.
It was very entertaining.
Yeah, funny?
Yeah. And the guy, I think his name was Adam Lau, who plays the main character. It was really a really good actor. So. Okay.
Yeah, well, I knew Gong Li was in it, and she's an amazing Chinese actress. I've seen her in a couple things, and she's really talented. But I tend to think of her as more dramatic stuff. But I knew this as the American version as a comedy, so this was still funny, right?
Yeah, and it was all funny for the typical. In fact, there were some scenes that are the exact same as the U.S. version.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Like when he first finds out that he can hear other voices, and he's walking through like a park, and a whole crowd of girls come by him. Those exact same scenes are in this sometimes. Okay. But that's where the comedy is. That's his side of it, because she is more of the dramatic type. She doesn't have as much comedy to do with it. But I don't know if it was just I didn't expect much, and so I was happily surprised. It was a little bit less vulgar than the U.S. version.
Okay.
But yeah, highly entertaining. I definitely would suggest it, especially if you've seen the U.S. version, just to see what another country can do.
Right. Well, yeah, that's interesting. because I kind of, it was one of those things I kind of wanted to see, but I didn't know. One of the things I was kind of concerned about with that movie is with foreign dramas that's like very dialogue heavy. It's kind of hard to keep up, especially when there's a lot of like voiceover and stuff like that. That I'd imagine. Was that an obstacle, or was that not a big deal?
No, it wasn't a big deal. Some of the obstacle was the fact that there was having to read the subtitles. I know I missed a couple of things going on screen because they did a really good job of mixing that up. It wasn't very dialogue heavy. I didn't feel like it. Okay. There's a great scene when he's figuring out the stuff in the box, just like in the U.S. version, all the girls' stuff to get to know them better for the marketing team.
Right.
And he does this great dance as he's putting on the makeup and the shoes and everything else. Yeah.
Well, cool. I especially want to see that after. Excuse me. I talked about the. I forget if it was Japanese or Korean. I think it was a Korean movie I watched earlier this year. That was my girlfriend is an agent, or one of those. It was like a romantic action blockbuster of theirs. So yeah. I added that to my queue.
Cool. What's one you've got on your list? Top 5 you think I should watch?
I put a tie on one. I picked a guy thing and 13 going on 30. And I picked those two because I figured some people out there are going to be, they're in a relationship, so they're not bitter. They don't want to vent. They don't really want to be sedated. They still want to be sort of happy, in their relationship, but their partner just might not, they might be working or in class or something that night. So you just might want to enjoy something that maybe your spouse wouldn't typically enjoy. So I picked a guy thing, obviously, for guys, and 13 going on 30 if you're a girl. And so that, because they're both really fantastic, really, really funny movies. But I don't know that a lot of guys are going to want to watch 13 going on 30. I don't know that a lot of girls are going to watch a guy thing.
Right.
But they're both solid romantic comedies. So I kind of put that in there for kind of the either or situation.
All right. Beautiful. All right. Well, you'll definitely have to check out the blog. When are we going to have that up?
We will have it up tonight. Actually, I just had everything finished up this evening, so I'll have it up by the time this podcast is up.
Sweet. All right, so just in time for you to pick out whatever movies you might need to add to your Valentine's Day weekend plans.
Right.
Right. Perfect.
So I have one more piece of news that I thought would be fun to talk about.
Okay.
Disney has been making some announcements. You and I grew up watching Disney afternoon cartoon shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
You watched like Tailspin and Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers, and DuckTales. All right, so the first one they announced a day or two ago. They're reviving like the Smurfs and the Chipmunks that are sort of these live action hybrids with animated animals, whatever.
Yeah.
So they're doing that with Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. They just gave the green lit for it. So I'm a little hesitant because of Smurfs and Alvin and the Chipmunks. But those, I don't think were Disney. So, and Yogi Bear was, I think, the other one. And so I am a little concerned because I don't see this formula working. Garfield, that was another one. Digging up all these, digging up more memories to ruin from our childhood. But I'm a little bit hopeful because Disney's been doing really good with Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen and, of course, all the Pixar stuff and John Lasseter and stuff there. So I'm on the fence. What do you think?
I think I don't know if I'm going to climb up the fence.
Okay, so you're anti. No, don't leave my child alone.
I feel like it's been tried by so many different studios over the years, and it's always failed. I mean, obviously there's some market for it, whether it's a DVD or whatever it is, because they keep making them. Right. And maybe Disney can do it right because they don't want to ruin their Chip and Dale, or anything like that.
Right.
I just don't know. I don't have high hopes for it.
Okay. So the other announcement, did you watch Gargoyles?
Yeah, I've seen it. I caught a couple of the cartoon. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I haven't read much about this, but Geek Tyrant just announced this, that they released all of Gargoyles on YouTube to watch for free, like all 3 seasons. It's like 72 episodes.
Really?
Yeah, it's I knew that they had this sort of sweetheart deal with Netflix that they're starting to usher some stuff into.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they tried their own thing on their own for a while. It didn't really work out. And so I don't know if they're just sort of testing the waters with this, but I think that's great because I can get YouTube on my, Blu-ray player and my PS3. So
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I think it's great also. I had just read one of those infographics on social media in the whole entire world. And
Okay.
YouTube was like the number 2 thing.
Yeah.
When it came to that kind of thing. So this is like the great way to reach out a whole new group. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit on the advertisement side, but it'd be interesting to see if they're doing that to get a new fan base.
Right.
Stuff like that. I always wonder, are there going to be toys coming out next? Are they going to do a movie, a new animated series? What is it for?
Right.
Or maybe just to test the waters to see how it works.
Yeah, because you would think, DuckTales, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, maybe some of these are, bigger franchises with that Disney afternoon, but Gargoyles was solid, but, just didn't have quite that popularity. So I could easily see him say, okay, we're doing some stuff in Netflix. We're going to try this with YouTube. We're just going to see what we're going to do because they have all this stuff on these IPs that they're not doing anything with except for DVDs. So, yeah, I'm hoping that this is like opening a new door for them.
Right. And you're right, because DVDs are the past now, and so the streaming is the new thing. So I like the fact that they're trying all kinds of different medias to put stuff out there.
Yeah. I'm excited to just get that stuff out there. So
cool. Anytime we get more cartoons, like I love the new Mickey Mouse cartoons. Lucas loves those. I'm all about bringing back Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah. So I know we haven't talked about our Netflix, like what we're watching, but one of the things I was going to mention I'm watching on Netflix is I've been watching G.I. Joe on Saturday mornings. Like that's my thing, right? So I'll wake up in the morning. My wife is still sleeping, and I will go make myself some breakfast and sit down and watch G.I. Joe. I was doing it with the X-Men a while back, but they took the X-Men cartoon down, bastards. So, but the G.I. Joe is great. I'm not complaining. G.I. Joe is great. So it's just fun to kind of get up and sort of still be a child a little bit. Make myself some scrambled eggs and toast and sit down and watch some G.I. Joe.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually had today off, and that's what I did this morning, is Lucas and I sat around and we watched Mickey Mouse cartoons on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this morning, they have all of them on a YouTube channel, so you can catch them all. And so he was eating a donut, I'm eating some cereal and drinking coffee, and we're watching Mickey Mouse.
Like the old Mickey Mouse?
They have some of the old, like black and white classic stuff, and then the new stuff also. And he loves them both.
Really?
So.
Oh, wow. And it's on YouTube?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
I think it's like a Disney animated or something like that they have a separate channel for the rest of their stuff.
Huh.
Yeah, they also had some planes and cars stuff on there, some Frozen things.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize Disney had been pushing YouTube that hard.
From the animated side, for sure. There had to be 100 different videos on there. It's been on there for a little while, it looked like.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so very cool stuff. Yeah. But speaking of Netflix, you want to move on to that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I went smart this week, and that might be surprising for you, but I actually checked into a little bit of the documentary stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay, all right.
So Bloomberg Television has this show called Game Changers, and it's a half an hour thing about people in the world that have changed something, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise.
Right. Okay.
So I watched the one on Mark Cuban, which, do you know who he is? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, owner of the Mavericks, and he does a lot of stuff with media.
Yeah, and so I knew of him from Shark Tank. the ABC show.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
he's one of the
right.
guys on there all the time. So that's where I first knew about him, because I wasn't a basketball fan, really. But it's a fascinating, it's like 25 minutes of his .com, where he made his money, and then where he went from that, and like just spreading his money out, and how he's constantly growing it in the most random of things. So it was really cool, but Bloomberg has a whole list of these game changers, and it's on different people or things or countries or whatever, and just an interesting half-hour history lesson.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
On the other side, I am rewatching all of Fringe, the TV series.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I stopped somewhere in the 4th season and didn't ever pick it back up again. So once they did the 5th season and ended the series, I decided, okay, I'll rewatch everything.
Oh, okay. Wow, so you're starting from
beginning. So that's my... Yeah, right from season 1 beginning. Even though I watched all of the first 3 seasons completely,
right.
Yeah, I'm going to start all over.
Wow. Impressive. My best to you. That sounds like it's going to be quite the journey.
Yes. Well, and I'm hoping to be able to complete it in the next couple of months. You know, it's going to be it's a lot. It's hour-long episodes, but it'll be really fun to be able to watch it back to back to back and remember the whole storyline.
Wow, that's cool. Awesome. Anything else?
The movie I picked is one of my favorite sci-fi movies, and that is Stargate.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah, it popped up on my suggestions thing, and it's tagged to watch it again. I've probably seen it a dozen times, but it's just a great, at its time, different take on a science fiction with time travel, or not time travel, but just space travel and the whole Egyptians and everything like that. A different way to tell the story of them.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's cool.
So what about you? What do you have for me?
So I've had this. Do you have any background shows that you just sort of you throw it in when you're cooking or doing some stuff around the house or something like that?
Yeah, I do. That's how. What's that 9/9 cop show that's on TV right now?
Oh, Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Yeah, that's how Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Dad's is for me on the Hulu Plus.
Okay.
I don't have to watch it, but it's in background noise. Yeah.
Okay. So I clicked on the show. I used to really like Dharma and Greg, and so Jenna Elfman had this show a few years ago called Accidentally on Purpose, where she's an older woman single who has a one-night stand with a younger guy, and now she's pregnant, and now they're trying to make their lives work. But it's just a sitcom, half-hour sitcom, and it's not great, but it's just something to kind of have on in the background, and every once in a while there's a funny joke here and there. And they had that one show that I watched. For whatever reason, they had a really good batting average on this one episode. And there's this guy works for a newspaper. And he's like, if there's one thing that I've learned from working in the print media in the last 5 years, it's that people don't like words. And I thought that was brilliant.
That's awesome.
It's one of my favorite quotes I've been playing over and over in my head ever since. So it's not, a home run series, but there's a few little gems here and there. And then the other thing I watch is I'll pull out some stand-up from now and again. And I pulled up this old stand-up that I watched, I think when we lived together, years and years ago. That's just a really solid act. It's John Panette, I'm Starving. He's the big guy who was in Hairspray.
Yes, I've seen him live.
He's talking about how much he's loved food. Oh, have you seen him live?
Yeah. Tiffany and I saw him live in downtown Mesa, whatever that area was.
Mesa Center for the Arts, right?
Yep, years ago.
Okay.
That's awesome.
How was he?
He was very good. He's a big man, and so it surprises me how much he moves around on stage
right.
when he's doing stuff. But he tells all his classic jokes and stuff, and it's always food related, or not having patience with somebody at the counter and stuff like that. It's funny because it's the typical things that you're always thinking and screaming in your head, and he just plays it out for you. Does a very good job of it.
Yeah, I just love how he's just over the top, and he's really engaging and witty, and his obsession for food is like Jim Gaffigan. So anyway, so that's if you're looking for a good stand-up special, that one is pretty solid. All right. Well, do you have a first base or second base or somewhere on the bases, Steve?
I do have second base, a pass, and a fail.
Ooh, okay,
Yes.
cool.
So, set me
All right,
up here.
Well, let me grab some music here for you.
Okay, I'll limber up. I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
This is a little segment we like to call How to Get to Second Base for $1. Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so Redbox does a very good job of changing out DVDs based on the season. Last Christmas, we had older Christmas movies in there, not just new movies.
Right.
So the home run movie that's in Redbox right now at the Circle K is The Notebook.
Oh, yes.
Don't even have to rent anything else. That movie alone is perfect. I actually do really enjoy the story of it.
Right.
I think it does a great job. The romance is perfect throughout the whole thing. Showing their entire relationship all the way up to today as a very old couple. And without giving away the ending, it makes you cry. You want that relationship.
But here's my question about The Notebook.
Okay.
If they didn't have the second story of the elderly people in the family, and it was just the other story, would you still love the movie?
No. I would still enjoy it. I really did like the relationship and everything like that. But what makes is the fact that you could see the end result.
Right.
Yeah. So if it didn't have that secondary storyline of them as an old couple, it wouldn't have been as good.
Right. Okay.
So there you go. The movie that I rented that I was telling you about reminded me of when we had a screenwriting class.
Oh, yes.
I remember writing this romantic movie, and I had a great dark ending for it because he doesn't end up with the girl, and he had this whole thing with the boat.
Yeah, I remember the boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this was called the Spectacular Now.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah. So I rented it, didn't know a thing about it, watched it. It's a little on the slow side, but then I realized it's because it's very real to life.
Okay.
So the guy in it, he is, in the beginning, he's typing on his computer and he's writing out his college entry, whatever it is. I don't know. I never wrote any of them.
Yeah, trying to get into the college, like, please accept me, please, pretty please. Yeah.
Exactly.
Really
So he's writing that out and he's talking about this past summer. And so he goes through this relationship and breakup. He ends up really drunk. He's 18 years old on a front lawn. And the nerdy, geeky, science fiction loving girl, it's her house.
Okay.
And she knows him because he's the popular guy. So it's that whole story, but it's so real. There's nothing funny about it. This is dramatic romance is what this is.
Okay.
His father is a drunk that walked out on them, and they could care less. He thinks he is his father. The drinking is a problem for him, for this 18-year-old.
Right.
He's constantly got a flask on him. She's got problems with getting away from her mother, who's overbearing and controlling. And so they're helping each other out, and they fall in love. But then towards the end, it splits apart. And then it goes back to him writing this thesis for this entry into this college. And he's talking about what he's learned. And it's very good. I would not rent it to get to second base, but it is a very good story. And I'll give it away. You think they end up in the end of it because they run into each other at college. And then what I love is the screen just goes black and they roll credits. You don't know if they said hi, if she hates him because he stood her up at the bus stop, or what happened. So it leaves it up to your imagination.
Okay, all right. Which is another great reason for you to like the Before Sunset series. I'm telling you, you're gonna eat it up. It's really, really good.
Okay, I'll have to do it because that's my kind of movie. Like,
Yeah.
it left me a little bit depressed, but I liked the romance in it, and in my mind, they worked it out in the end. I mean, they're going to have a lot to work out. I mean, he's drunk, and she's got this abusive mom, so
right.
but they're going to try.
Which is a lot of what we're trying to do with this film that we're making too. So I mean, it'll be exciting to see if we can pull something like that off, or if fail terribly, but learn a huge lesson maybe in the interim.
Right. Well, and we always learn lessons.
Either way.
So rent the Notebook to get to second base.
Okay.
But if you're by yourself and maybe you want something that's really hard hit to life and you are already depressed a little bit, go rent the Spectacular Now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's all about him living in the now, and that's where the title comes from.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I've heard good things about it, but I haven't seen it yet myself. But that actually leads very well into film history.
Oh, all right.
It's time for This Week in Film History.
All right, so you gave me a little bit of a challenge last time to combine film history and the second base for a dollar thing, right?
Right.
So I've given this some thought, and I picked 3 movies, and depending on the girl that you're with or your situation, you might not want you might want a little bit of variance, right?
Right.
So I got 2 sort of different types of romantic movies, and then 1 solid one.
Okay.
And just to warn you, they are all 3 comedies to some degree. The first one is screwball. So especially if it's like a first date, it's just fun. You just want something that you're gonna laugh and have a good time with, and you just want to be free to be silly. There's this movie, I think I talked about it 6 months or so ago, called It Happened One Night. It's this old Frank Capra movie that Frank Capra wanted to make, and nobody else wanted to make it. And it ended up being the first movie to sweep the major awards at the Oscars. So it won Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Picture.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And what was funny is they won Best Actor and Best Actress, but neither of them wanted to be in the movie. And even Colette, who played the woman, even she, you can see she writes her friend and says, "This movie's really bad. Nobody's gonna watch it," Right. And it turns out to be this Academy Award-winning thing. But the great thing, though, too, is that it comes from this age where a comedy was allowed to win an Oscar. Like, the further I get away from the Oscars last year, the more I feel like Silver Linings Playbook really should have won. And the worst thing it had going against it is you laughed too much in that film for it to be an Oscar. It had to go to the Iranian drama, right?
Right. It wasn't dramatic enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking about that with some guys on the forum where they were talking about the Joaquin Phoenix, where he has a relationship with his operating system, is a comedy.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you've seen the trailer for that, but it's not a comedy. There might be a joke in there, but that just shows you how little Hollywood thinks of comedy. Yes.
Right.
But this one was really solid. It was really fun, as it was really risque for the day. Clark Gable takes his shirts off, but and they're talking about wanting to have sex, but they're using this euphemism of Gabriel's trumpets the whole time. And like at the very end, like they finally get married, and he had sent out they're on their honeymoon, and he had sent someone out to get a trumpet, and he's like, I don't know why you wanted this, but then you hear like this trumpet playing off in the distance somewhere. And it's just it's if you want the premise of the film, it's about this guy who's sort of a reporter, and he's on this really long bus ride, and he bumps into this girl who is she's just a rich snobby girl, and she wants to marry somebody, and her dad won't let her marry this guy, and so she runs away. She literally jumps off the boat and swims to shore because she can't take her controlling dad, right? She's just a bratty little spoiled brat. And so she is all entitled, and she ends up on this long bus ride with this reporter who's just like salt of the earth kind of a guy. So obviously they clash.
Right.
But he sees an angle for a story, so he like connects with her, and then they end up getting lost together. So it's kind of this, kind of a road trip movie, kind of one of those really, two people really hate each other, love each other, but comedy. It's so it's a really silly, fun movie. So if that's what you're looking for, It Happened One Night, solid choice.
Okay, cool.
The other one is the Philadelphia Story with there's a ton of so Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart, Katharine Hepburn, and I think there's one or two other people in it. But it's more of the cerebral, if you're looking for more of the, it's a lot of like really dialogue heavy. It's about this woman's about to get married to this guy, and her ex-husband, Cary Grant, so the suave guy, comes back into her life, and at the same time this reporter gets sent to cover the wedding against his will, and so you kind of have everyone kind of fallen in love with this girl, and everyone has their own angles and their own approach to it, and they all kind of want to serve their own selfish things, and it's a comedy, but it's really a just as much of an interesting commentary with really interesting characters and stuff like that. Like, it's not as silly or slapsticky as something like It Happened One Night, but it's just really good characters, really interesting story and stuff like that. And,
right.
And it is funny. And the last one that I'll suggest that is good for no matter where you are, no matter what. I still believe that this is the greatest romantic comedy of all time. It is City Lights by Charlie Chaplin, and it's the perfect combination of sort of that silly, fun puppy love with that deep, sentimental heart, that you expect. I mean,
right.
You can't find a movie that has as many laughs with as big of a heart as this movie does, because you fall in love with the characters, you really sympathize for, especially the two leads. You really fall in love with them. You're really rooting for them. You're really excited about them, but at the same time, your heart breaks for them, and you really hurt for their hurts, and you really, it makes you fall in love. It's a really solid movie.
All right.
And it's some of the same things I talk about in for the Valentines Day. One of my other picks was The Artist, the silent film. And I think there's just something about silent films that just sort of allows you to, after you sort of get over that hump of this is really different than what I normally watch, it sort of allows you to sort of get over these inhibitions, to have a more free relationship with what's going on and what's going on. Like, you feel more apt to cheer for the heroes and boo for the villains and gasp when someone's around the corner and shout when they're about to do something. Or so so those silent films really get you into it. So those are my picks: City Lights with Charlie Chaplin, Philadelphia Story with a whole ton of people, and It Happened One Night with Clark Gable and Tony Collette.
Beautifully done, then, Jeff. There you go. Challenge passed.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I agree with you with the silent films thing. You're more involved. I think you're almost paying more attention because there isn't dialogue.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like some of the story you're so attached to, you're almost making it up in your head somewhat.
Right.
And so that's why I totally get the whole cheering and jeering along with the movie.
Yeah. And I know not exactly everybody connects with it in the same way. I remember Sam went back and watched The Navigator after we talked about it so much, and he was like, yeah, this was pretty decent. But the other great thing too is if you can watch a silent movie with a crowd, even if it's like a group of like 5 people who get together and watch it, like just to feed off that energy with each other, where you're all kind of cheering and booing and stuff like that, that makes it a lot of fun.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I like that. You said the Charlie Chaplin one was your ultimate romantic comedy, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's you could even say just romance. It's a really solid romance.
Okay. I'll have to check into this then. Because for me, Princess Bride,
Yeah.
but you can't stream that anywhere. I looked on Netflix.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it would have been on my list.
Yeah, that was a solid movie. Which, by the way, one of the interesting things, Netflix always does, and we talked about this before. At the first of the month, they always do a big dump of a bunch of their movies, and they also do a big, oh, these are the new things that they're adding.
Right.
And they've added a bunch of interesting stuff. But for me, when I was going through the list, it felt like a lot of like filler pieces. Let's see, Patriot Games and Airplane. Actually, Airplane 1 and 2, those are both solids, right?
Yeah.
The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, The Usual Suspects, Fistful of Dollars, Marathon Man, Crocodile Dundee 2, MASH, Bubba Hotep, Leap of Faith, Cocoon, and I know this is the one that you and I are probably most likely out of all these to add next to our list is Down Periscope.
Yes. For sure. The penis tattoo.
Yes. So, a lot of they did add a marquee title last week, I guess, with the Croods, but yeah, not a lot of marquees, just kind of more kind of filler stuff kind of coming and going.
Yeah, it seems like there's it's shuffling.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting from a streaming standpoint. Like, I really like the fact that I can stream things instantly. I don't like to get the latest movies. I'm still going to have to either Netflix DVD it or go to Redbox.
Right.
It's either that or I'm paying $2.99 or $3.99 to rent it on Google Play or something.
Right.
So I don't know how to get around that necessarily, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, I don't expect really Netflix to add like a brand new release like on a consistent basis. But it's good that they're at least refreshing the movies. I like to keep the TV series there for a long time because for me it takes me a long time to get through. Like, especially if I'm gonna binge watch. Like, you're watching Fringe.
Yeah, I got 5 seasons of Friends.
Yeah, so it's like, please keep that up for a couple years, so someone like me can take my time to get through it. But
right.
Yeah, I'm glad they're at least sort of refreshing things and continuing to keep things fresh. But yeah, maybe some more marquee titles here and there would be nice.
It would be nice. What was it was a Tom Cruise movie too. Just recently, but even then I realized it was still a few months later than anything else. It was marquee to me, but I'm so used to streaming stuff now.
Right. Yeah, if you think about it, they added the Croods, which I didn't even, I guess, it can't have been out on DVD that long, I didn't think, but within the year at least, so I don't know.
Right. Well, enough complaining about my lovely streaming.
Yeah.
How about some speed round?
Yes. Yes, let's.
All right, let me pull up my list for you.
All right. How about a little bit of music first?
Deal.
Speed round.
The joy of the scream.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. We'll see how speedy we can keep this with our internet lag here.
All right. Are you ready, Jeff?
Okay. I am ready.
Romance, flowers or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Muppets, showing up in too many places or the more the merrier?
Honestly, after the Super Bowl, I kind of feel like showing up in too many places.
I was thinking the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Princess Bride, perfect romance or Steve needs to grow up?
Oh, no. Perfect romance.
Which Muppet would play you in a movie?
Gonzo.
Word association. I'm going to say an actor, actress, or a movie. You say the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Okay, that's your next 5.
Okay.
Robert Downey Jr.
Witty.
Sixth Sense.
I'm glad I finally got it before the credits rolled.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Eggs Benedict.
Toy Story.
Computer animation.
Die Hard.
With a Vengeance.
Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Julia Roberts, Tinkerbell.
Okay, beautiful. Good job.
Okay. All right, thanks. Woo. All right, yeah.
I kind of cheapened out in the with the word association. So.
Yeah, so I just watched Die Hard with a Vengeance for the first time like a week ago.
And?
It was fun. It was great. It was like, oh man, this is this is everything you hope for in a old Die Hard movie, which is great because the new one was. I don't know if you saw the one that came out like a year ago, but it was terrible.
Was it? No, I didn't. I think Die Hard with a Vengeance, because that was the one with the hacker and everything, right?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
I loved that one.
Yeah, that was the last one I've seen.
Yeah, that was great. And then when I saw the trailer for this one, I thought it was fantastic. And then Josh Salazar, who's done some stuff with us, he's really into action movies, and he didn't give it a good review, so I was really pessimistic, but I still wanted to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is you watch it and you're like, that wasn't a Die Hard movie. Now, yeah,
Really?
Bruce Willis was in it, but other than that, it's not a Die Hard movie, really. But whatever.
Okay. All right, my turn.
Okay, are you ready? Okay, so let me get this list out because okay, so I have a softball question here just to sort of get you warmed up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so this is a softball before the big gauntlet. Would you rather be in a Muppet movie or on Sesame Street?
Muppet movie.
Okay, good. All right. So this actually ties in a lot with what we're talking. We're talking a lot about the Disney afternoon cartoons, right? So kind of put yourself back in all those. We're gonna have the 80s cartoon gauntlet, Sweet 16 sort of round. All right.
Oh boy.
So here you go. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Gummy Bears versus DuckTales.
Choose one?
Yeah.
DuckTales.
Okay. Chippendales Rescue Rangers versus Tailspin.
Tailspin.
Okay. Wow. Darkwing Duck versus Goof Troop.
Darkwing Duck.
Okay. Bonkers versus Gargoyles.
Gargoyles.
Okay. Aladdin versus Timon and Pumbaa.
Oh. Timon and Pumbaa.
Okay. And I don't know if you saw any of these. Three of them. Mighty Ducks versus Quack Attack versus Schnookums and Meat funny cartoon show that lasted like half a season.
I'd never say the last one, so I'm going to have to go with Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, Mighty Ducks. Okay, so now that we got the initial round in, we're going to have to dig into it. So, Mighty Ducks versus DuckTales.
Mighty Ducks.
Really? Over DuckTales?
Yeah.
Wow, surpriser. Okay, all right. So next of the semifinal rounds, it is Tailspin versus Timon and Pumbaa.
Tailspin.
Okay, and then Darkwing Duck versus Gargoyles.
Oh, Darkwing Duck.
Okay, so Darkwing Duck versus Mighty Ducks versus Tailspin.
Darkwing Duck.
All right.
Yeah,
wow.
that was the one.
Okay. Darkwing Duck was the one for you, huh?
Yep.
Okay, you're not over yet, by the way. Okay. So, continuing outside of the Disney cartoon, but continuing the 80s theme. Here we go. You ready?
Right.
Phase 2. Voltron versus Transformers.
Transformers.
G.I. Joe versus Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget.
Oh! Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus the Smurfs.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, duh.
Okay, well, good. Captain N and the Game Masters versus Muppet Babies.
Muppet Babies.
All right. Thundercats versus Care Bears.
Thundercats.
Mask versus Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Mask.
Okay. Heathcliff versus Garfield and Friends.
Heathcliff.
Okay.
Yep.
The Real Ghostbusters versus the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Real Ghostbusters.
Okay. All right, let's see if I can remember these. All right, so Voltron versus Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. Okay. Inspector Gadget versus Heathcliff.
Heathcliff.
Okay. Thundercats versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
TMNT.
Okay. And oh well, I'm losing it now. Okay, so it was out of those, which one was your favorite? I can't keep track.
Honestly, out of everything we've just talked about, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was probably
That was the one? Okay.
Yeah.
I would probably say
Heathcliff was a close second, but yeah, Ninja Turtles was the way to go.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping that we were gonna do this like in person and like I could keep track with like typing everything so I could like keep all the brackets the same, but at some point in my mind is like, I don't know which one he chose.
I see. It's alright. I see you're going there with a Sweet 16 basketball type thing. So
yeah, so it kind of tied into what we were talking about and everything too. So
very cool. All right. Well, that kind of makes me want to watch old 80s cartoons.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Well, the 90s too, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then you got Gargoyles now on YouTube, so you can check that one out at least. And
so I guess our tips for this podcast are watch your cartoons before she comes over for Valentine's Day and get it out of your system.
Yeah.
And then we have a whole list of beautiful romantic movies to get second base with.
Yes, and an entire blog about it. In fact, if you need a reference guide for it.
Perfect. I like it very much. I don't know about you, Jeff. I'll be doing my typical cheese fondue.
Oh, yes.
That's our annual thing to do. Neither one of us are big Valentine's Day people, so that's our fun.
Yeah, same here. Apparently, I am going with my wife and some of her friends that she works with to that new Mormon temple.
Oh, you're doing a tour.
Yeah, they're doing it. They built this big Mormon temple down the street from us, and anybody's allowed to go until they ordain it. So, like, you can go and they explain, whatever goes on there. So that'll be interesting. And my wife set it up, so that's I know I'm not going to get in trouble for it, and that's all I care about. So.
Well, I'll have to look into that because I know Tiffany was interested in it, and I think it'd be interesting too, just to see. That's a massive building, so. I'll look into that.
Yeah, and even if you're not Mormon, where we live, there's a high Mormon population here. So get to know your neighbors, get to know what they think and feel and believe, and So.
Right. That's it.
Mormons
we're all big one happy family.
Yeah. Great neighbors, by the way. So yeah.
All right. Well, I think we successfully made it through this with only a couple little hang-ups.
Hiccups,
so. Yeah. This
cool. All right.
Might work out.
Yeah. So cool. All right. Well, we'll keep you guys posted on how this video goes, and make sure you check in on our blog and on the Valentine's Day thing, and of course keep posted with all of us, all of our shenanigans on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. Steve?
Beautiful. Thank you very much, guys, for listening again to the podcast and putting up with all of us.
Yeah, all right. Have a good one, guys.
The 12A podcast is produced by 12A Productions and distributed by the 4-Eyed Radio Network. To learn more about the podcast or to see what other projects the 12A team is working on, check out 12aproductions.com.
For everybody watching us live or watching the recording of this on YouTube, we really are that animated, even when there's not a webcam recording us.
Oh, this was recording us?
Yeah. Now we're not recording, Jeff. You can stand up since I know you're not wearing pants.
Woo!
Kyle here. If you're like me, then you want all your shows in one spot, or a lot of shows in the same place, or better yet, some really great podcasts all on one network. Visit 4eyeradio.com for all the best shows featured on Blog Talk Radio, Stitcher, iTunes, Mixcloud, and more. 4-Eyed Radio Network, the Fern.